I want others to see like you can get out of that place and this is who you can become.
I'm a proud father. I've got 2 wonderful daughters, and I've always loved their zest for life, their appetite to try new things. My only regret is they live so far away. My oldest, Alexandra, has blessed us with 2 grandchildren, Maxwell and Delilah, but she works for Apple and lives in San Francisco. And her younger sister, my youngest daughter, Michaela, with her master's degree in psychology, works in London, England in the well-being space. But after reading this guest book, which I'm going to introduce to you in a minute, I was wondering, did they have the happy childhood that I imagined, seeing it through Dad's eyes? I mean, were they fearless or did they have fears? Did they lack self-esteem or just have the confidence that they believed they had? And I think it's important sometimes that we not necessarily look at the world through our eyes or how a proud dad wants to see his daughters, but really take the time to listen to how others see their life.
No, I need to sit in this struggle. I need to feel it, and then I can move forward.
My guest today is Natasha Soregaroli. She's a Canadian author. She wrote Becoming Me again at age 18, drawing on her 16-year-old journals.
I talk about this a bit in my book, but value comes internally. So if you feel confidence in yourself and you do the things that make you feel confident, you will reflect confidence in the world around you and how you behave.
Her self-help memoir shares this raw and filtered self-talk on struggles like self-confidence and body image and social media. And I love her mission to help others feel not alone through an authentic voice.
It feels like you're in a wind tunnel and everything's just happening to you. The feeling of losing control is what makes the fear even greater.
Hi, it's Tony Chapman. Thank you for listening to Chatter That Matters, presented by RBC. If you can, please subscribe to the podcast. And ratings and reviews, well, they're always welcome and they're always appreciated.
Hello, Natasha. Welcome to Chatter That Matters.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on.
So when I opened your book, it began with this powerful dedication to the girls who feel alone in their thoughts. This one's for you. Take us back to that time in your life where you first felt so profoundly alone in your thoughts. And what were you dealing with in terms of trying to, compartmentalize them or find a way through them?
I talked about it a bit in the book, but when I was around 12, my perspective of the world changed and I became more and more aware of the world around me, and my negative thoughts just began to increase over time. And then suddenly I was surrounded by people, but I felt so alone. I just couldn't help but cycle through these negative thoughts. And I wasn't sure what I was doing wrong, but they were just persisting. I knew other people experienced these thoughts, but I'm not sure if I believed that they did. So I thought I was crazy. I thought I wasn't normal. And that just made me feel even more separated from those around me, which led me to feel even more alone.
Was this a switch that went on? Because, your book, you describe in elementary school, you're this happy, confident kid, and I just imagine you skipping and running home and showing what you did at school. Did it change overnight, or was it just suddenly that these thoughts started creeping in and then one day they were just overpowering you?
It was over time. It definitely wasn't one day. It was an accumulation of little thoughts day by day, or situations that broke my confidence a little bit, or someone's comment that changed the way I saw something.
I did a lot of work with the Dove brand on self-esteem. How that all came about was through dermatologists that were telling young girls that had acne to wash their face with Dove because it didn't have beef tallow, it didn't have beef fat in, so it wouldn't clog your pores. And Dove could have gone out and said, oh, the soap the dermatologists recommend. But what they really spent time with was trying to understand sort of the head, heart, and hands of young women. And what they realized that as they started going through puberty and their body changes and stuff, many were overpowered because what they were chasing were these false beauty stereotypes, the covers of magazines and how celebrities and then Instagram and how everybody was putting their best foot forward. Do you think social media and sort of the Hollywood stereotype of what beauty was part of it? Or was there other things that sort of opened the door to having so much negativity pour inside you?
I think social media played a large role in what I believed to be true and what I believed to be real. I had social media throughout high school. You go on there and you think it's real, even if you know it might not be, you still register it as real because you're seeing something, and that creates a narrative of what you believe to be true. The algorithm feeds you what you already are seeing, and it continues a cycle reinforcing what you think to be true, even if it's not. There's hundreds of other perspectives on the internet, but you usually only see one.
And when you found yourself in this lane, did you ever try to get out of it, or did you just become consumed? It was almost addictive in the sense that this moth to a flame, that I'm attracted to these negative thoughts, that I'm consumed by them. Or was there a point early on that you started saying, this is wrong, I got to put the phone down, I got to put the computer down, I got to get back outside with real people?
I knew it was wrong, but it can be addictive, and these negative thoughts can feed you. You believe them, so it's feeding what you already think to be true. So it's just validating what you think. And you're like, yeah, that's how I make sense of the world. Trying to understand or get away from that is really questioning your beliefs. And I had to learn to do that. My mom that was able to coach me through it and help me with that.
When did your parents start realizing that? I mean, did you play act for a long time, that I had to be the Natasha that everybody loves, but in the inside it was all churning? Or did she join you on this journey quite early on that started to say, something's changing with my daughter?
At school, I was very happy, but I'm a very emotional person, and people can usually tell when something's wrong if I let loose. And when I'm home, I felt safe. And so my parents knew something was wrong because I would cry when I got home, but when I would go to school, I was happy. And so it was oftentimes hiding part of that, but you didn't have to be that observant to see that I was struggling.
Internally, this self-diagnosis is there's something wrong with me, or did you realize that maybe there's something wrong with the circumstances surrounding me? Or was that just too deep of a question at a young age?
I think that didn't even occur to me. I always blamed myself.
And you start journaling. And it's interesting. I've had so many people that have gone through trauma on the show. And they said the most important thing that I started to do was put pen to paper. You started putting these personal thoughts down. How did that come about, and how did it make you feel?
It came about because I had nowhere else to put the thoughts. So I was like, at this point, I need to release. And it really was a way that I was able to materialize the thoughts. Because when you're thinking them, they're abstract. They can go anywhere, and they can cause your emotions to go everywhere. You can't really control what's going on when it's inside your head. But as soon as you take what's in your head, put it on paper and see it, it becomes much more manageable. And you can be like, oh, this is the reality of it, instead of just feeling the emotion tied to the reality.
And as you start doing that, I mean, what it becomes is this wonderful book, Becoming Me Again. I love the title, by the way. As you started writing it down, did you ever imagine that the words that you were putting on paper to help yourself would one day be the bedrock of a book that could help so many others?
No, absolutely not. I was really writing for me. I was needing work on myself, and I was needing to see how I felt. And when I was 18, that's when it started to change, where I started to write based on what I was speaking to others about and realizing they were also struggling. Some of the writing was from that period a bit later at 18, but a lot of it came from the emotion tied to being 16 and isolated.
And the words that you write are very raw and at times scary. It certainly would be scary for a parent to realize that one of their children's going through this. Did it help, though, that you chose not to censor those feelings, that if I could declare them as intense? And I mean, I got to imagine looking back sometimes, you must look now and wonder how you even survived that period of your life.
When you're in it, it's completely different. Looking back, you realize that there's validation in that, and it's totally okay to feel that emotion. But it was a difficult time. You don't know when you're in it until you're almost coming out of it.
And did it ever feel so suffocating that you wondered, like, how can this possibly be life?
I was crying out of agony, pain, fear a lot. I cried so much throughout high school, never at school, always at home. Everything's overwhelming. I can't explain the thoughts that swirl around your head. It feels like you're in a wind tunnel and everything's just happening to you and you're not in control. And it's the feeling of losing control is what makes the fear even greater.
And when I saw some of the chapter titles of your book, I imagine you, don't take this wrong, but I know that I've had some people on my show that have cut themselves. They've personally harmed themselves because they need to feel it. And I almost felt you were scratching these titles, that when you wrote them out, that, if you were writing with pencil, the lead would snap. Words like, I'm too fat to wear a two-piece. My face is too ugly. It needs coverage. Was that after the fact that you just wanted to wrap the child? Or were you actually, when you were writing your journal, these thoughts you put in your sort of journal to begin that declaration?
It was beginning the declaration. It was taking the thought that I feared the most and putting it on the page. And I can't stress how important that was to being able to really understand the thought.
And then there's the dad that's trying to say, what do you say to the girl that places 56 out of 57 in a 200-meter dash, grade 6, when you talk about it as a life-defining failure, something that shattered your internal value, where I could see parents going, well, you did your best. That was great. Next time you'll do better. And all the things that we kind of say thinking that, that'll cheer you up. But maybe realize that those are superficial words. This thing was much more than a 200-meter dash. If anything, you felt like the rest of your life you'd be running in cement. How do you reframe the kind of narrative you would get from friends or siblings or parents or their people that feel their jobs to inspire that young girl compared to what was going on inside? Can you connect the dots at all, or you just kind of nod and smile and know that I need to go inside and internalize that and fight my way through that?
The best thing that people can do when you're struggling is to ask questions. As a parent, you probably don't know how I took that. Obviously, it sucked in the moment. And my mom was like, well, you did what you could. I'm a super competitive person, so that was even harder for me. I played varsity field hockey. I've been playing since I was 5. I'm very, very competitive. So losing that race was almost an attack on my identity of being not good enough and not there competitively. Super hard, especially because I was comparing myself to other people. But you wouldn't know that unless you ask the questions of, how did that make you feel? What would you do differently? Oftentimes people assume the way you're going to feel instead of asking how you're going to feel. The reality of it is it was a setback. But the question that I needed to ask myself is, how is this going to change my story? Am I going to let it get to me? Or am I going to shift gears? Do I want to be good at this? That was really important, is understanding what value that had in my life and if I wanted to do better. Because I think if I want something bad enough, I can work for it. You can work for it. Put your mind to it and get there.
In one of the words you just used, which I think is a word that roars through the entire book, is comparison. And I'm wondering, now that you're at a point where you're taking this trauma that you went through and realizing you can help others, because there's like-minded people out there, how much is it all come down to comparisons? I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not fast enough. Do you think that our world is now so consumed with sort of snackable content? I'm going to show the best possible life every time I'm up on Instagram. Do you think that's getting to the point where there's nothing to compare to because everything that's out there isn't real and everything that's inside me is real? But if I compare, it's just creating an even greater divide.
I think we can't help but compare as humans. It allows us to find our place in the world. It allows us to see what other people are up to understand ourselves and make sense of everything. I don't know if you can ever stop comparing because it's so ingrained in us, but I think it's how you take that comparison.
What advice can you give people? Because if comparison's part of our DNA, and now it's within arm's reach of desire, I can scroll and compare. I don't have to wait for a movie to come out or the next People's magazine. I mean, every second now, somebody's coming at me that's just absolutely awesome. What's your strategy? What do you offer people as advice to say who you are and who they are really don't relate?
The biggest thing is to compare yourself, but in a way that inspires you. When I was using social media in high school, I was comparing myself to the girls I saw online because I thought, oh, I'm not pretty enough. I don't look like her. I am not her. And I was comparing myself to an unrealistic standard. Now I compare myself to someone who I want to become. I follow accounts that inspire me and I'm like, okay, how can I get there? And I'm comparing myself in order to help me move forward. It's not in a negative light.
I was fascinated when you talked about your inner voice. I've never heard it this way, that it's both a blessing and a curse.
The inner voice throughout my teenage years was extremely negative, and that's because I fought with it and I pushed back and I took everything it had to say to heart. And I bullied myself relentlessly in those thoughts. I allowed myself to be bullied. And what really shifted was acknowledging that that inner voice has the best intentions. It's meant to help you and support you. And oftentimes, the reason that it was saying these negative thoughts or creating that negative inner voice was due to fear of embarrassment, because I was scared that I would be rejected and not have friends. It was always trying to protect me. And when I could acknowledge that, I knew when to listen to it. And it helped taking a step back and seeing it almost as another person and being like, okay, and would I listen to this person?
You know, you mentioned your mom, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about the role she played, but did you get therapy, or was it this all sort of worked out between you and her and what you wrote?
I tried therapy, not very much. I went to maybe like 2 sessions with a therapist and it just didn't work out. Oftentimes I say therapy wasn't for me, and everyone says you had a bad therapist, you need to find the right one. And I understand that thought process and I understand the importance of therapy, but I'm someone that doesn't like looking back in the past and understanding why. I don't necessarily need to understand that to heal or move forward. What I like is I like to think about the future, who I want to become, and the actionable steps to become that person.
It's powerful. This sort of philosophy and thoughts, is that through conversations with your mom, or was that just you and your inner voice changing the channel and sort of fine-tuning the fact that I'm not going to live in the past or be consumed or bullied in the present? I'm going to go after the future.
I don't think I'd be the person I am without my parents today. My mom's a business coach and my dad's a consultant, and they've coached me. I would love to take credit and say, no, I did everything on my own, but I don't think anyone ever does. It really is the people around you that create who you become. And my mom would give me books growing up where I would read. So she was supporting me throughout it. It was up to me to listen, but she was the one that helped me see a better option.
Did she relate to you? Did she have similar fears when she was growing up?
It's interesting because we never really talked about them in that way. It was sometimes like, I totally understand you, but it usually never came from personal experience from her. Sometimes, but it was rare.
And your dad, because often you have 2 voices with the same intention. I want Natasha to smile. I want Natasha to stop crying. Were they ever conflicting, or did you find that between the 2 of them, that they really were playing a wonderful symphony that you could embrace? Or was there times even when I need mom or I need dad?
I love my parents so much, but at the end of the day, they're parents. And so whether you love them or not, they can drive you insane. And my mom, she's a business coach and I love her so much, and I wouldn't be who I am. But because she's that way, sometimes I would be struggling and she'd be like, well, look on the positive side. And I'm like, no, I need to sit in this struggle. I need to feel it and then I can move forward. My dad was the same. He was oftentimes the one I went to listen, and my mom was the one who coached me forward.
And did they ever say to you that, oh my God, you remind me of my mother, my father, or an aunt? Because in some ways you remind me of my youngest daughter, what I always called an old soul. I felt even from the day one, she'd been here many times before. She just had a perspective. She saw things differently. She felt things differently. She still does. Was anybody saying that you are so much like, or did everybody just think you were you as an individual?
They always let me be me as an individual. I have a story of when I grew up, I was trying to get a bike up a hill, up a little bump, and they tried to help me. And I was screaming for 2 hours, not being able to do it. And then I finally did it. And I said, me, do it. They would bring up that story constantly to help guide me, but they never compared me to anyone else. Really, Natasha, you will do it if you want to do it. You are determined.
So there's 2 ways that you talked about that are inside you, the sense of being a perfectionist and obviously very competitive. And at times, I imagine, there's people that stand on podiums and get gold medals for that. But there's other times when those are a curse. To you, being a perfectionist and being competitive, is that a blessing or a curse?
I mean, I think most things are a blessing if you take it as one. It's all about perspective.
Don't go away, because when we come back, Natasha and I open the cover on her book, Becoming Me Again. What we'll learn is kind of wisdom in words are floating around the brain of this 18-year-old. And I promise you, the depth and valuable insights will astound you.
Hi, it's Tony Chapman, host of Chatter That Matters, presented by RBC. I'd like to give a big shout out to RBC's Future Launch, a $500 million decade-long commitment to help prepare 3 million youth for the future of work. And how? Providing young people access to meaningful employment through work experience, skills development opportunities, networking solutions, and mental well-being support and services. Powering today's youth for the jobs of tomorrow, that matters to RBC.
This is my story of learning to love myself. It's for those who don't feel normal. It's for those who still feel hopeful, but whose hope is usually drowned out by their negative thoughts. It's for people who want a better life.
Today, my very special guest is Natasha Soregaroli. At 18, she's an author. She has such insights into her world and ours. So talk to me about becoming me again, because now you're not just sharing a book, but people are asking you to come out and talk about it. What were some of the transformative practices that you offer people when you're talking to them that says, this is how you can become me again? This is how you can find your way through these dark patches.
By talking to so many people about it recently, it's actually helped clarify what truly I want to say, especially I've grown a bit since writing that book. And I would say 2 things are super important. And the first is to challenge your beliefs and your inner voice. Don't listen to it always. It's there to help you. Assume it has good intentions, but it's not always going to make the right decisions or tell you the right things. And the second thing is to take action. I talk about this a bit in my book, but value comes internally. So if you feel confidence in yourself and you do the things that make you feel confident, you will reflect confidence in the world around you and how you behave. And the best thing you can do is try new things, get out there, push yourself, go take a dance class if you've never danced before, go try a new sport, go sew, go do something, learn. And that will help you find who you are, who you like. Try. That's the key to it. Try so many different things when you're young.
Great advice, but the person that's going to try to learn how to sew is a perfectionist and quite competitive. How do you reconcile it when you walk into an area that you can't be the best at? Or maybe halfway in, this wasn't for you. What advice can you give for people that go, I only want to do things I'm good at?
It's acceptance. I still struggle with that. I mean, I think life's a journey and it's okay to acknowledge that we struggle. I went to a cooking class a little while ago and I was trying to make pasta and I was so focused on getting it perfect that I wasn't even having fun. And I was so stressed and I was like, I can't get it to mold together. What's happening? Why isn't it molding? And at one point, you just have to laugh at yourself. If you're not great, obviously you're not great. It's the first time you're doing something. If you want to get better at it, again, it's acknowledging, do you want to be good at it? Or is this just for fun? What do you want out of it? Who do you want to be?
What made you decide to turn this journal into a book?
I actually wrote it during COVID. The world was shut down and I put it into a book, May 2020. I wrote it for my future kid because I wanted to capture how I'd felt because I didn't want someone else to feel alone. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to turn it into a book for other people because if it would have helped me, I want other people to have that support. I went to university and things changed again. And I was like, that's too vulnerable right now. I'm not sure if I'm up for it. I kept revisiting it, kept looking back at it. And I said, do you know what? Let's do it. It's something that was on your mind. You've always considered it. And if it's a dream and it keeps on coming back and you're not letting it go, follow it, pursue it, and try it.
No, you weren't researching somebody else. When you went back to do that book, this is your journal you're reading. And you mentioned earlier that you're not one that spends a lot of time thinking about the past. You're pursuing the future. What was it like going back and reading Natasha as that teenager that cried herself to sleep, that wished that she didn't exist? How did it make you feel? Were you worried ever it was going to pull you back into that darkness? Or did it give you a superpower that said, I've come so far that I'm okay going back and doing this?
Well, first I wanted to give myself a hug. I just wanted to say it's okay to feel, because I'm in a different place now. Reading about it, I have a different perspective of it. Understanding how I felt helps me understand how I currently feel. And because I understand both sides and I've seen both sides, I have more empathy towards those around me because I can understand the struggle.
People that I've talked to in the past that have really had a tough upbringing, some of them turn to substances. So I'm going to find liquid courage. I'm going to find it in drugs. I'm going to be accepted. I feel more beautiful. I feel more confident. Did that ever tempt you? Did you ever get in a sense that the only way out of this is to change the chemistry in my brain?
Honestly, that didn't even occur to me. I'd seen what alcohol had kind of done. I didn't have any personal experience, but I'd read enough stories. I'd seen enough things on the internet where I understood the issues with substance abuse. And I'm very much a rule follower. So I didn't drink alcohol until I was of legal age. I didn't try it. Like, it just wasn't interesting to me with that kind of thing. I had dreams deep down inside. I wanted to be better. And I couldn't do that if I turned that way. And so every decision I made was still in who do I want to become in the future mindset, even if I was struggling.
In an interview I listened that you were on, you talked about the thing about the book and its structures. You can jump from one topic to another based on what matters most. As a perfectionist, as someone that's competitive, you've gone back and said, geez, I wish I did this chapter differently. Or are you really happy with how authentic? Because critics have come out and said, this is unique, this is authentic, this is exactly the kind of message people should be putting out there. So I'm just curious, how do you critique your book?
I don't want to see it in the way of, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. The first time I published it and then I thought about that, I was like, no, you were 18. It's how you felt, and I want people to feel it at that age. I didn't want to be 23 talking to that 18-year-old because I would have said different things and it wouldn't have been, you wouldn't be able to connect to it in the same way as a high schooler because it didn't come from a high schooler. I read a chapter now and I think it was about choice. And I wish I'd emphasized the importance of taking action more. And I said, I didn't know that then. I learned that at university. That wouldn't have come from a place of I'm here with you. It would have come from a place of I'm older talking to you.
When you go out and speak to audiences, do they want to hear that 16-year-old or do they want to hear now Natasha, someone that's come such a long way? From an audience's point of view, how do you reconcile? It's almost like maybe the analogy I'd use is when the Rolling Stones go, I want to hear Give Me Shelter. I don't want to hear their new music because that's emotionally struck a chord with me. And after reading your book, I'm curious, how do you find a way to straddle the Natasha from the past to the Natasha you are today?
The book is a time capsule for who I was, but I don't think I had much figured out. It was much of this is how I feel. And it wasn't a place of who you can become. And I think the person that I am now, I want others to see you can get out of that place. And this is who you can become.
Natasha, how old are you? Can I ask that?
Yeah, I'm 23.
So you're 23 years old. You have this extraordinary maturity about at least you, the human. I won't say humanity. What are you going to do with this? I mean, you've got yourself, I think you got a business degree from McGill, right?
I did. Yeah, I graduated this year.
What do you think your calling is? I mean, what do you think Natasha is always looking towards the future? What do you think your 20s are going to be about?
I want my 20s to be about trying new things. I don't have any expectations. I have dreams and hopes that others can reach out, and I want to support them. I want to talk to the people that are struggling throughout their teen years, especially right now with technology. I'm interested in so much. I think my 20s are discovering even more, and life's a journey. I would love to do more speaking at schools. I would love to do that kind of thing, but we'll see where life takes me.
I always end my interviews with my 3 takeaways. The first one is just such a simple 3-word statement that I think can have a profound impact on how we connect with each other. And that's, don't assume, ask. And I thought that was so powerful, that instead of like we just assume how someone feels or we assume what they're going through, taking the time to ask, it comes down to listening generously and not immediately running to answers. I love what you talked about your inner voice, that it more often than not, it has good intention. Not always, but to listen to it and realize that even when it's giving you negative thoughts, it's for a reason. And so instead of just being paralyzed by that inner voice, use it more as a compass or a guide to see where those words can take you. And then I think the other one that, which all comes down to the sense of going after the future, taking action, taking a cooking class. I want my 20s to be about discovery. I think is something that we're losing so early in life. And what youth used to be about, my generation, I think we really have become so paralyzed by social media and them establishing the benchmarks. How negativity is so addictive to people that we constantly scroll, waiting for a crash at the hairpin turn. And I think what you're saying is so important, that this isn't about you comparing yourself to others. This is about you defining who you want to be. Find people that are doing it. Learn what they're doing and saying, what do I have in me that can be part of that journey to where they are? Your maturity and insights and sense of positivity and possibility, I'm blown away by. I wanted to do this selfishly because I have 2 daughters. That's how I opened the show. But I've learned so much just listening to you. And I think your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s, you're going to be more often than not called upon to help people make sense of a life they often feel senseless. And I think that's your calling. And I hope you pursue it and learn how to make past it at the same time.
Thank you. That is so kind and thoughtful. I really appreciate everything you just said. That means a lot.
Once again, a special thanks to RBC for supporting Chatter That Matters. It's Tony Chapman. Thanks for listening, and let's chat soon.